We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Got to be a little bit nervous about sitting on 6 million pounds of fuel, and if you're not real smart.
What would a journey aboard the space shuttle be like? Inside, the G-forces hit the crew members as their training kicks in. In just 8.5 minutes, this can of air is propelled out of the Earth's atmosphere.
You instantly go from 2.5 to 3 Gs to 0 Gs, and your legs lift off the ground, and your books float off of your knees, and your arms rise up, and you're in space.
The unforgiving vacuum of space. Shuttle Endeavour has come here to look down at the Earth. Using cutting-edge technology, its mission is to map the surface like never before. With just 11 days to complete the job, the crew will collect data from 230 kilometers away in orbit, so that those of us who aren't able to take a rocket flight will be able to see the Earth from space.
Right now, our launch time is targeted for 12:43 p.m. and 40 seconds.
Imagine sitting, waiting to feel a force like nothing you've experienced before.
Beginning to retract away from Space Shuttle Endeavour's crew hatch.
Waiting to become one of the few to be blasted into space. Hoping everything goes to plan, dreaming of what's to come.
At T-minus 6 minutes, 26 seconds, the orbiter test conductor has given pilot Dom Gory a go to perform the activities.
Today, 6 astronauts sit anxiously on board Space Shuttle Endeavour. They will soon get to experience what just a handful of people do in their lifetime.
We have confirmation of all 3 auxiliary power units up and running.
It's the first human spaceflight of the 21st century. If everything goes without a hitch on the launch pad, they will begin their 11-day mission.
When you're sitting on the launch pad, your mind is pretty much racing, mostly full of all of the training that you've had for the last year or 15 months leading up to that flight.
I had a card in front of me that had all of the emergency procedures on it for bailout, and I read through the card a few times, and I read ahead in the checklist that was on my knee board to make sure I knew it was coming and I didn't miss any of my responsibilities.
The heart rate really picks up is whenever you come out of the 9-minute hold, we call it, where we go up to the 9 minutes and hold for a while, and if everything is good, they come out of the 9-minute count, and they count down till liftoff. And whenever they come out of that, you really think that this is it, you are going to space.
But getting past that point doesn't mean things won't go wrong.
You are nervous about it going well, and you got to be a little bit nervous about sitting on 6 million pounds of fuel, and if you're not real smart.
Fatal accidents have happened in the past. In 1967, 3 astronauts burned to death aboard Apollo 1 when a flash fire started in the cockpit during a simulated countdown. Seven astronauts were killed on the 28th of January 1986 when the Shuttle Challenger was destroyed just 73 seconds after liftoff. And in 2003, Shuttle Columbia disintegrated during re-entry, killing the 7 astronauts on board. Danger is part of the deal for the astronauts and their colleagues. So one thing takes on great significance: trust.
You're trusting all the people that have gone in to building up the space shuttle and getting it onto the launch pad with the solid rocket boosters and the main engines. We know that we've got the best people in the world working on that, so I trusted them implicitly. But the confidence level in the shuttle and its ability to get you safely to orbit and back home is very, very high as well, or else you shouldn't be there.
It goes without saying that you trust your crewmates. You've trained with them by this point for at least a year or thereabouts, and you know them inside and out. You're like a family. You know each other's families, and you're together all the time, so the trust is there.
T-minus 3 minutes and 17 seconds. All systems are go for launch at this time. Just a few minutes away from the 14th voyage of Shuttle Endeavour with a 6-member crew.
There were no unexpected errors. Copy that. Endeavour, OTC, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow. Good luck on your mission that builds on the past explorations of this millennium as we increase our knowledge of planet Earth in the next. Endeavour copies. Thanks.
The Space Shuttle is the most complex machine man has ever built. With more than 2 million parts, it has close to 1,500 circuit breakers, just over 1,000 plumbing valves, and more than enough wire to run from London to Manchester. It also has a main engine with more horsepower than 39 locomotive trains.
Whenever the engine's light, and especially the solid rocket boosters, it's a tremendous rumbling feeling. And it's not only a sound, but it's a feeling. You can feel the vibrations coming up through the vehicle, and it's really exhilarating. And you're just ready for those things to burst loose and throw you into space.
20.
T-minus 20 seconds. 15. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine.
I'm sitting there going, oh, great, we're past 6. Good, we're past 5. Oh, there's 4. And I'm spending the whole time hoping to hear the next tick come and not abort.
4, 3.
The last 5 seconds drag slowly, not because I'm anxious about the launch, because I'm anxious about the not launch.
2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Endeavour on a 21st century mission, placing Earth back on the map.
Roger, roll, Endeavour.
So you feel that huge thrust as soon as the engines push you off the pad. And I usually involuntarily laugh at that moment because it's so exciting to me to feel that. It's just such a unique feeling that you don't get on any kind of amusement ride or anything else. And you really realize that you are going to space. And so that is just a great feeling to me. I just love that moment whenever we lift off.
The power of the space shuttle and the solid rocket boosters when they lift off is just incredible. It literally is shaking your body like somebody is grabbing your shoulders and trying to knock some sense into you. It's just incredible, the force that you can feel coming through your seat.
As the acceleration mounts, as you go faster, you get more and more G-forces on your body, and they come through your chest, so you feel heavier and heavier and heavier, and you actually have to make a conscious effort to breathe, to inhale, because it's hard to suck the air in as all the weight is put on your chest.
Endeavour, go at throttle up. Go at throttle up.
1 minute, 15 seconds since launch. Endeavour's 3 engines now back at full throttle.
We don't see any of that glow from the boosters or the engines. All you can see is the sky and the clouds that you quickly leave below you on the ascent. And then once the trajectory of the shuttle goes more horizontal, then you can look outside and see the clouds below you and the ocean and get a sense of the Earth's curvature.
Endeavour speed 1,400 miles per hour, 11 miles altitude, 8 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Endeavour's already burned more than 2.25 million pounds of propellant, weighs less than half of what it did at liftoff.
Your mind is racing with concerns about the systems that you're in charge of, making sure that the profile to orbit is going to go well and you do exactly what you've been training to do for hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Endeavour speed now 2,700 miles per hour, 25 miles altitude, 25 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Flight controller standing by for burnout and jettison the twin solid rockets.
I'd probably say 40% of your training is all focused on that 8.5 minutes of getting to orbit on the launch phase.
Booster officer confirms good separation of the solid rockets. Endeavour on its second stage main engines now. Continue to operate well.
And then you go from this pressure to immediate release of the pressure, and you instantly go from 2.5 to 3 Gs to 0 Gs, and your legs lift off the ground, and your books float off of your knees, and your arms rise up, and you know you've hit MECO, we call it, it's the main engine cutoff, and you're in space.
Seconds.
Hey, there's the execute. Very nice.
And then it's just exhilarating and a very wonderful, free feeling of movement. To be able to move around the space shuttle with just a slight pressure from your fingers on walls and the ceiling and seats is pretty exciting and fun, and just way different than you've ever experienced before, so you can have a lot of fun with that.
Sorry.
After just 8.5 minutes, the crew has arrived in orbit. For the next week and a half, the shuttle will be their home.
Some people that are afraid of maybe claustrophobia have a hard time thinking about being in a shuttle.
It's like being in a small apartment, or, I mean, it's a really small room. It has 2 levels of flight deck and a mid-deck, but combined, they're not bigger than a kitchen. And of course, you can use the whole volume. You can use the ceiling and the floor and the walls, and so it's a little more volume that way.
The way I look at it, you've got all of creation floating in front of you. You've got the greatest seat to the most beautiful views in the world, and that is pretty liberating. It's not. I don't have any sense of being closed in or being in a bubble.
O2, tank 1, heater alpha off.
H2, tank 1, heaters Alpha and Bravo.
There's as much change between different parts of the Earth as there is between Earth and the interior of the space shuttle. You're having to absorb a lot of new information. You're having to adapt very quickly to a different way of viewing how you exist in your environment.
We would like to get an update on the SPL manual procedure that was in work.
Growing up hearing about SA6s and 8s, they're mean they were. They had tons of them.
Think about danger. You don't have time to. You're so busy. There's so many things to do these days that you have to immediately get the cameras out, get the computers out, put away the chairs, take off your suits, put on your regular clothes, and all that kind of thing. That you're just so busy that, and it's not productive to worry because you can't do anything about it. So you just enjoy yourself.
When we first take off with the light of the solid rockets, there's a lot of noise and a lot of shaking, and also there's a lot of excitement as we get ready to launch into space. By the time we get to the top of the pad, we're doing over 100 miles per hour.
Dr. Kalani, do you get dizzy when going up to space?
I have not felt dizzy in space. You do feel a little bit disoriented initially because you don't have the same up and down that you do on the Earth, there is really no up and down. But as long as you keep the same reference inside the shuttle, the ceiling is you're up and the floor is you're down for the first day or so, then after that you can orient yourself in any direction and feel very comfortable.
Good morning, Endeavour. Good morning to the Redshift and specifically to Gerhardt.
Good morning, Chris. What a way to wake up to the Karelia suite. It is just wonderful, and it's great to look forward for another day of mapping.
Tank 3, O2A auto.
H2, Tank 3, heaters Alpha and Bravo, 2 switches to auto.
2 switches to auto.
The astronauts depend on an army of engineers and technicians to keep everything working.
One other thing, Chris, that I was focusing pretty fast. It was clearly much closer to me than the OMS pod. We are thinking that the nitrogen tanks are under the antenna in roughly that vicinity and may have come up through the payload. But again, from that view, I can't actually see any of the payload. I just see the OMS pod.
Copy all that, JB. That's a great description. That gives us a lot more insight than we had before.
In the unforgiving environment of space, the shuttle is one of just 3 places in which these astronauts can survive. Another is the International Space Station, floating in a different orbit. And the last is right outside the window and impossible to miss.
My views of the Earth when I look down at it very clearly is a different planet than anything we've ever seen anywhere else in the universe. It has this unique combination of an atmosphere and water, life-sustaining abilities. The beauty of it and the colors are unlike anything we've ever seen in any other planet.
The shuttle travels at more than 28,000 kilometers an hour, 17,500 miles per hour, but the crew doesn't intend to miss a single detail.
You feel like you're seeing the planet from God's view, from out there. You can see the curvature and you can see the blackness against the blue ocean. I think it's large, it looks beautiful, it looks majestic.
Colors are like anything else. A photograph is worth 1,000 words, but it's not nearly as good as your eyes. So you have this image of what the Earth looks like from having looked at photographs. And it's like the difference between looking at the picture of the fall colors and walking amongst the maples in New England in October and seeing the fall colors. It's that same depth of clarity and crispness that all of a sudden the whole world comes alive.
Golly, I would say every time you float up to the window, you are amazed. The views are just spectacular, whether it's a nighttime pass and you're watching a lightning storm below you, or just the city lights of all the countries around the world, or in the daytime, seeing the colors of the Caribbean, or the entire extent of the Grand Canyon out the window at one time, seeing the Himalayas and snow-capped peaks around the world. Almost anything you look at is just beyond your imagination. And you could fill up your whole day just floating in the window and looking outside.
Japanese astronaut Mamoru Mori captures an iconic image for his countrymen.
What land is that in the world?
Yeah.
Is that Japan?
Japan yet? No, I haven't seen that yet. I'm shooting the moon now. Moon and the Earth.
That's Japan over there.
Is there?
Yeah. That land is Japan right in front of us.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, a good shoot then. Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know where that is?
Tokyo.
Is that Tokyo Bay?
Yes.
Yeah. You got it in there?
That's
cool? Are you
That's
recording?
cool.
You recording?
Yes.
Good deal.
Amazing.
Underneath
Mount
the moon.
Fuji is there.
Can you see the moon at the same picture?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
That would be fantastic picture. Yes.
Mamoru is the king! You are going to be famous with that. The king! Oh, that's
Tokyo
beautiful. Love Fuji, the moon is full.
Yes.
Mamoru's at the wheel of HDTV. He can just take the pictures and go, you know where we are? That's Japan over there. That's Tokyo Bay. That's Tokyo Bay.
The aim of this mission is to get a good look at the Earth. The data the crew brings back will make people look at our planet in new ways.
Our purpose was to make a three-dimensional map of the Earth, which means you have to have two antennas, just like you have two eyes to get 3D vision. So we had an antenna on a long mast that stuck out the side of a shuttle, and the inboard and outboard antenna allowed us to make a three-dimensional radar map of the Earth.
We're riding in maybe the most technologically advanced vehicle in the world, and we're carrying this payload, this radar system that was able to do things that had never been accomplished before. We got data that people had only dreamed about getting, and the sensors and the systems on the ground that were going to process that data were very, very powerful and the leading edge of any technology. So to be a small part of that team was really exciting.
The team has just 10 days to gather information. To do this, Endeavour collects data on 100,000 square kilometers of the Earth every second. That's fast enough to map the whole of Alaska in just 15 minutes. The crew must also maneuver the shuttle into position 230 kilometers above the Earth.
You see the curvature of the Earth, obviously, but it's very large still. It's like just being really, really, really high up in an airplane, so high up that you're above the atmosphere.
Endeavour Houston, we'd like to wish you a good afternoon and evening from the Orbit 3 team. Been great working with you today, Dom and Jazz tomorrow. Appreciate your good work with the data and also with the video, and keeping our bird healthy and aloft. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll leave you in the capable hands of Leroy and Chris and the Orbit 1 team.
You know me. 80% of the time I forget that.
Where'd the tape line go?
It's up above your head, I think.
Yep.
The crew operates in 2 shifts, so they can work around the clock.
During the shuttle flight, looking down at the Earth, honestly, for me, you really don't have much time to truly enjoy what you're seeing. You get bits and pieces, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but it's not like you just sit down and relax and say, wow, what a gorgeous view. Get out your maps. What am I looking at now? What's coming next? I just never had the time to do that. You do most of that after launch. When you look back through your pictures, you go, oh yeah, I remember looking at that. Wasn't that fun? You do the relax, enjoy it time after you get back, for me, because you're just so focused on making sure that you get all the science done and all the mission operations in the very limited time that you have on orbit.
At 8, day, 3 hours, 9 minutes. Charlie 181 from PHR 1 is taken out. Charlie 183 is inserted.
Good job.
There's no time to read. There's almost no time to do email. There's a tiny bit of time you can maybe write your family a line that said, I'm fine, and this is wonderful, I'm seeing beautiful things, but that's about it.
A decrease in prop usage with the valve in its final open state. And so, of course, you're trying to look at every option and to make a fully informed decision.
But there is always time to have a little fun, especially when everything floats.
But this is different shape we saw the other day. Oh, interesting.
Be careful, it's about to break. It's gonna break right there.
One of the favorite pastimes that everybody has to try on their first flight is throwing M&Ms at other people on the crew. And it's one of those another amazing experiences about the difference between what you think you know and what you actually know. You think that when you say throw, that you have control over the motion of this arm. And if you want to throw up, you think you know what you're doing. And so you think that when you throw an M&M, you say, I'm so smart. I understand there's no gravity. If I throw it the usual way, it's going to go up because you usually throw it in an arc. So I know this. I'll just throw it straight. And you say, OK, throw straight, and it goes right up to the ceiling.
How many did you put, 2?
Astronaut Mamoru Mori seems to be having the most fun.
That is cool, Mamoru. What a neat scene.
He wanted to show the different capabilities of the HD TV, and one of the things he came up with was to squeeze out of this water drink bag a bubble of water that was about the size of a baseball.
He set up, I think it was a rice cake and a chrysanthemum in a bubble of water, and there was some symbolism to that I can't relate to you what it was.
He had these chrysanthemum flowers that he would insert inside the bubble, and as the bubble rotated, you could see the flower spinning inside it.
What kind of flowers are these?
It's chrysanthemum.
Mamoru had said that this chrysanthemum flower was edible, and so it was in this bubble, and it was floating around, and nobody quite knew what to do with it.
And then our pilot, when he was finished, snuck up and drank the whole bubble of water and ate the rice cake and the flour all in one gulp.
It was a little bit after the fact, actually a couple hours later, that Mamoru told me that in Japan they use chrysanthemums to make a laxative tea.
On the Space Shuttle Endeavour, there's not a great deal of leisure time. The crew has a job to do. After just 10 days in space, the shuttle's radar has mapped more than 121 million square kilometers of the planet, enough data to fill 20,000 CDs. It has created images of valleys covered by glaciers, frozen tundras, barren deserts, volcanoes, and ancient human settlements. They even discovered an island in the South Pacific that wasn't mapped before.
The views are so different, and you know, cameras cannot do them justice. We bring back some very nice, spectacular pictures and movies, but it's not the same as being there and floating and looking at countries pass by and thinking about, you know, all the billions, literally, of humans you're looking at that very moment.
One really vivid memory of the Earth, besides the first time I looked out the window, is the Bahamas. The blue-green of the corals in the Bahamas is so gorgeous, absolutely indescribable.
My favorite thing to do is put on some favorite music if you have the time, just maybe before you go to bed, and listen to that music as you pass. My favorite place is to pass over Africa during a thunderstorm and watch the lightning over the continent. They have spectacular lightning storms, and sometimes you get the rhythm of the lightning with the music, and that's just a really neat experience.
When you look at the Earth, the colors and the variety of the terrain is a constant wonder. Seeing the atmosphere and clouds and storms from a different perspective is always exciting. And when you get to see a orientation of a circular cloud pattern like a hurricane developing or tropical storm, that's usually a view just reserved for weather satellites, which is really exciting to be able to see that and then take a picture and send it down to the folks on the ground.
The view that most impressed me is sunrises and sunsets. You will never experience a sunrise and sunset again after you've seen one from orbit. I hope you get the chance someday, because the colors are so deep and so saturated and so rich, and they change so fast. And the colors go from a very deep purple blue through all the reds and oranges and get very bright white very quickly, and it's so fast. And you go through the entire spectrum range, and they're so saturated. I can sit here and it feels like there's a little crack in the universe that's opened up for just a second to let you see the whole rest of the universe and then shuts down again. You see that every 45 minutes for the entire time you're up in orbit. It's just spectacular.
Earth is the third planet from the Sun. It sits more than 149 million kilometers away from the star's life-giving light and heat, and its deadly radiation. Our only shields are the Earth's magnetic field and a thin layer of gases.
When you look at the horizon, you can see a very, very thin layer of our atmosphere. In fact, if you hold your arm out at full length, your thumb is the same width as the atmosphere. And that is a stark reminder of what little protects us from the vacuum of space.
Is vulnerable to a certain extent because there are all kinds of things floating out there in space that could hit it. You know, there's asteroids and comets and meteorites and things that could cause our destruction if the odds were not good that day.
From space, you can see things that are way different and maybe not even have ever been seen before from the Earth. For example, in Canada, in Quebec, there's this Manicouagan impact crater that we never even knew about before we flew in space, but it clearly shows about a 30-mile wide impact crater that was formed about 220 million years ago with a meteorite impact. It tells you, when you see that, how fragile we are and how exposed we are to natural events like a meteorite impact.
The chances of getting hit by a space rock are slim because the Earth's atmosphere is made up of nitrogen, oxygen, and other ingredients that burn up meteors before they can strike our planet's surface. Unfortunately, the biggest threat to the Earth doesn't come from outer space.
The greatest threat to that planet is us and how well we treat it, and so we are its probably biggest enemy. There are fewer trees than I would like to see, that probably people don't realize how much of the world is deforested now, how many tracts of land you can see being actively deforested, and how little is really left when you look at the entire planet.
You can also see changes in the landscape in South America where the terrain is being changed by cultivation and burning. You can see a lot of smoke that is almost encompassing an entire continent at times. So that's sort of shocking to see what humans can do to our planet.
You can see all of the runoff. In the areas that are deforested, you can see all the topsoil washing away down through the rivers and spilling out into the oceans. It's very visible, just huge brown splotches of mud flowing from the mouths of rivers, from major rivers into the oceans. Madagascar is almost completely deforested, and it's just, you can see the topsoil just running off in all directions around the island, and it's just sad. You wish you could show people from here, look at what we're doing. We really need to stop that because it's really bad. Obviously, you can see what you're doing from up there. Whereas when you're in the forest, you can't see the forest for the trees because I think you just lose perspective of the damage that you're doing. It's not nearly as visible.
I was very aware of the Earth environment before I flew in space. For me, it just strengthened the vision I already had of the Earth, of it really being one place that's all connected and well worth taking good care of.
The astronauts can only survive in space because of their colleagues who have maintained the Shuttle Endeavour. The view from space shows we on Earth are travelling too, surrounded by our own protective outer layer. Survival depends on preserving this watery rock with the thin line of atmosphere. If we fail, there is nowhere left to go.
This creation that we've been blessed to live on is something that we need to take care of, and we need to be responsible and good custodians of that. And you sort of become a quick environmentalist when you fly in space and see how fragile the Earth really is from that perspective.
Understanding our planet is vital if we are to protect it. That's why these astronauts are on this mission. The data they collect will be used to create maps that are 30 times more precise than any we have today. It will change the way people view the Earth.
It's probably the greatest contribution I have made in my life to any one cause. And it's so important because this data now tells us exactly where everything is on the planet.
Space Shuttle Endeavour brings us back images trying to capture the experience of going into space.
You do look down and you know that great conflicts are occurring underneath you as you're floating over, and it is sad to think about that. And some people are tremendously affected by it in a religious way. Some people are saddened by the fact that they know what's going on, they can't do anything about it.
There's a lack of borders. For example, flying over the Middle East, where there's been thousands of years of conflict, from the view of space, you can't really see any difference. It's hard to imagine why people on one side of a border you can't see from space are so adamant about being hostile to the folks on the other side of the border.
You can't even see individual people, but you know of all the happiness that they're sharing and the strife that we go through, and you're looking at some of the most peaceful places and you're looking at some of the most violent places, and it's interesting from up there that you can't tell what's really going on, but you know in your head what's going on, and it's sort of surreal.
It does give you cause to pause and think about differences in humanity when, from space, it all blends together, and it should for humans as well.
The blueness or the aquaness of some of the oceans are just incredibly breathtaking.
Volcanoes, which, you know, are a couple miles tall, and you're 200 or 300 miles up, you'd think, can't really see those. It's such a small fraction, but they look so tall. It's amazing, because you're expecting them to look really flat, and they look really tall, makes them look huge. It's things that are contrary to your expectations that really stick out in your mind when you're looking at the Earth.
Just looking outside is just a wonderful feeling, something that's hard to even describe, especially when you're floating with your face up next to the window. You get to look at a view of Earth that not many people will ever get to see. I feel extremely fortunate and honored to be able to do that.
And that would complete the topic that startup.
Being in space has changed me. It's something that I've wanted to do since I was a child. I had always dreamed of going into space. When I was a little kid, I would always be looking up at the stars at night and wanting to be up there. I think it's, you know, you feel like you have a destiny sometimes, and that's a good thing. I think it's wonderful, and I tell school children when I go to talk to them that something out there is going to make you feel the same way that space makes me feel. And you just have to wait until you find what it is. And for some people it's medicine and wanting to heal people. For some it's teaching. For some it's wanting to make beautiful music. And for me, that thing I knew was right for me was to go into space.
Tune in to Nat Geo Channel 526 and in HD on 543 for in-depth analysis of some of the most controversial crashes in recent history in air crash investigation. For more on this month's highlights, check out the website at natgeotv.com.